And welcome to the Glacially Musical Podcast. It is beer, metal, and swearing. Of course, I'm Nick Cameron of Glacially Musical, the visionary leader of himself. I am joined by my good friend, a man that always swims about, never sleeps until he kills, Keefy Knops Shark. How are we doing today, buddy?
I could I could bring out the shark. I have it handy, but I'm better than last week, but it's still not great.
Are we bringing out sharks today?
You beat me to it, so I won't.
Yes, just for the record, my daughter said, have a good podcast, mention me. So I'm now mentioning my daughter. That is her shark puppet that she has given up due to Sharks of the Corn, which lawyer wife actually asked me about while she was at her lawyer retreat. And I'm like, that, what? Oh my God, tell me you're going to make them watch it. Tell me you're going to make them watch Sharks of the Corn. Anyway, so if you are here for the early episodes of Foreigner, thank you very much. We're taking a break. And because he is one sexy beast that I can't get enough of, Don Decky Low Voldemort Lemonface has joined us this week to talk about the David Gilmour concert. We'll get to him soon. The Glacially Musical Beer of the Week is Four Hands Brewing Moose Space. This sumbitch is an India Pale Ale with Galaxy hops. A lovely 6.5%. Finger fudge pour into Keefy's favorite glass that features his favorite sport. Dale's Pale Ale Glass, brought to you by American Outlaws. Who are the American Outlaws, Keefy?
Is that curling? Is that a curling?
Who are the American Outlaws, Keefy?
Oh, is it a biker gang? I don't know.
No, it's not a well, it probably is, but it's also the number one St. Louis or the United States Soccer Supporters Club. I am not a member. I just bought it because it says Dale's Pale Ale. How you doing?
I would get that Dale's glass myself because
It
that's
was a
cool. But I
dollar
don't
34.
I don't care about soccer
It's
at
a
all.
I mean, I didn't even notice it till I got it out. It's
It's
so
an
little.
inferior sport. Inferior.
It is the second best sport.
It can't be. Trader Joe's Seltzer this week. Cheers.
You gonna third of the Merst?
Not for a while. And seltzer all over me. All right.
You drinking anything?
Suck
Don?
it, gay boys.
I I am drinking a Jack and Sprite.
Oh, good. None of
So
us are sober.
no,
Why?
I also just I took 50 milligrams about 10 minutes ago, so it's okay.
I
It
don't know what
was
that means. I don't
50
smoke
milligrams
pots.
of what?
my edible.
I
Uh,
don't.
Nice.
I don't do the pots. I don't know if that's good.
no,
By the way, I
yeah.
already started with the references, and Nick complained that we had too many references last week,
I
and
did not.
we should try to have less this week. So if you enjoyed last week's episode, this week's going to seem very droll by comparison.
Yes.
Do we need to? I am going to ignore the fact that you impugned my character yet again on record yet again, and I'm going to move on to the vinyl check. I'm dropping a twofer this week. First one is actually one lawyer wife came home with, and I decided it's mine. It's a Steve Winwood and Friends record. She got it at some charity shop for $10. Seems like a lot to spend on a record at a thrift shop, but it's got Eric Clapton and the Yardbirds, Jeff Beck, Ginger Baker, Long John Baldry. Big fan of him, I assume. I am. Jack Bruce and Sonny Boy Williamson. It's a cute little record. She got like really irritated when I said it was mine, but as you can tell, it's in the mylar, and only my records go in the mylar because only my records go in and out of their sleeves enough for it to matter. I am rocking a twofer this week because I may have gone on a bit of a spree. Record number 2 is the sophomore effort by Missouri's own, the Hootin Hollers. If you are not familiar with the Hootin Hollers, you are wrong. This is called Chillicothe Fireball, Chillicothe, Missouri, Chillicothe, Illinois, blah, blah, blah. They are a dirty blues band. This came out on Big Muddy Records. I don't know what label they're on now. This is a difficult one to find because Big Muddy Records, I don't know if they even still exist. And when they did exist, if they don't anymore, they were not exactly the largest label on the block. So there aren't even any of these for sale presently on Discogs. I came across this for $15 at an antique mall. And it came with a download card, which I don't even know if it works. Kiwi?
So random question. Where is Columbia, Missouri in relation to St. Louis?
Columbia, Missouri is halfway between Kansas City and St. Louis, Missouri.
I
It
could have
is
just looked at a map.
it is where the University of Missouri sits. Go Tigers. It is where it is also right outside of Jefferson City, the state capital. Jefferson City has one of the most interesting distinctions in the United States. It is one of the very few state capitals, if not the only one, that cannot be accessed by interstate highway.
Fascinating.
That is on purpose. That's one of the few things Missouri was right about and was smart. Very few
Hootin'
other
Hollers, Hootin' Hollers kicking off a tour. I just looked this week, and they're coming to my town within walking distance. But I think I have another show that night. But
Those
I
dudes
would
are
go.
they do like 200 shows a year.
Yeah, bottom of the
They
hill
just
in
put
San
out a new
Francisco.
album, which is a concept record, which I haven't gotten yet, so I got to pick that up. But this is their they just put out their because there's Greetings from Whelp City, which has my favorite song of theirs, Missouri Boy, Chillicothe Fireball, self-titled, um, Back in Business, and then the new one, which I don't remember the name of, so I still got to get the new one.
All right, cool. Well, quickly to my vinyl check. I will not sidebar and make references as much as I want to. Good record here. I went on a Voivod kick late last year and bought a bunch of holiday vinyl, including this repress of The Outer Limits, great album by Voivod. Insert with the lyrics and notes, very faithful to the original, which I had on cassette. And then this beautiful, what you call a smoky translucent Voivod Outer Limits Red. Um, yep, pretty great. Pretty great. Kind of dusty, I don't know why. But yeah, good stuff there on the Voivod. How about you, Don? Do you have a record to check today?
I do. I actually have a couple. So I actually found a pretty beat up cover. The album is in perfect condition, but David Lee Roth's A Little Ain't Enough. It is the last of the four great David Lee Roth albums that I
All right,
needed.
anybody who
So
has this record, raise their hand. Anybody who has it in mint condition from England, raise their hand.
you know what though? Is it a fantastic album?
It is a fantastic album. On the Department of Metal Antiquities, we did an episode on that album. That is the last album ever featuring Jason Becker as we knew him.
Yeah.
Oh, look at
Matter
you
of
two
fact,
whipping out your
yeah.
preciouses.
I saw this tour, and that was with Joe Holmes had taken over for
My God, there is a
yeah.
name that, like, he's going to be the next big. Oh, he's gone.
Seriously, I mean, it was Roth and then Ozzy, and then I thought for sure he was gonna be like some sort of a breakout, but he
He
ended
was
up
supposed
not
to
being.
play,
But
he was supposed to record on the album that became The Ozman Cometh. They were going to record 4 new tracks for it.
yes, yeah,
And in the end, they just couldn't write, he couldn't write anything.
mm-mm.
So they stuck on one leftover from No More Tears back on Earth, and they did 3 or 4 Black Sabbath demos.
Yeah. I mean, he was great though. He was great live. I thought he was a great guitar. He was also in Lizzie Borden.
I saw him with
So
Ozzy, and he was amazing.
I saw him with Ozzy, and I thought he was fantastic. I thought he got a lot of hate though, but this is a great album. Um, I like it a lot better now than I did when it came out. It's one of those that I feel like got better with age,
I didn't actually
So,
hear that one back in the day. I didn't even know that existed until we did a DMA episode on it, and I'm like, wow, this is great. And one of the things I do, if you have a friend in England, you can buy albums from Discogs, and send them to his house.
mhm.
And then when you get 4 or 5, you can send them over. And instead of it costing $100 in shipping, it only costs 20.
Oh,
And it's especially good if you can get that album. Like in England, that album cost me $15.
yeah, because it's usually like $50 shipping.
Right. But it
Yeah,
usually costs $80 to $90 on American pressings.
that's amazing. It's a great album though, and I absolutely love it. And I didn't care about it being beat up. I paid $7 for it,
Holy
so it
hell, you got
was.
that? When did you get that? This week?
I got it this week. Actually, I got it while I was in New York.
That's awesome.
There was a guy out in front of I forgot where he was. He was out there in the village area, and he was selling his records out of milk crates, like just on the corner. And I went through and I just started kind of thumbing through them. And of course, there was a lot of crap, just whatever. And all of a sudden, I'm flipping through it, and all of a sudden, I hit this one, and I'm like, "You got any more like this?" And he's like, "Donald Lee Roth? No, I don't have any more of that." And I was like, "How much for this one?" And he was like, 10. I was like, "Would you take 8?" I said, "Would you take 7?" And he was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Well, I'll give you 8." So I gave him 8 and walked
Look
away.
at you with the big tips.
It was great. And then my other pickup was the Emma Ruth Rundle Marked for Death vinyl, which I actually haven't had on vinyl before, but this is actually from the first pressing that she put out. And so I was super psyched to find that in a store in New York as well. And it's actually my second favorite one by her. So that was my finds this week. And I'm a happy camper.
Understandably so. That David Lee Roth record, that's a major coup.
Matter of fact, he was like, "Oh," he goes, "I'm sorry, the cover is in bad shape." And I pulled out the rec, and it's like glistening. Like it looks like it sat in a shelf and just was moved constantly but never played. So I'm happy. It was
Make sure
fantastic.
you clean that stuff on your spin cleaner before it hits the table.
I have my spin cleaner out, ready to
Mine's a
go.
Studebaker, which is based off the spin cleaner and costs a third of the price.
Are you talking about the yellow one? Like
Spin
the
cleaner
spin
is
clean?
yellow. Mine has faux wood like an Atari 2600.
Mine is Yellow Submarine.
Next, move on to news check. I have one news item. I saw Patti Griffin, Laurie McKenna, and some other dude last week. It was I can never remember the dude's name. I'm sorry. That was for Lawyer Wife. I didn't expect I was really going to be enjoying it. It was an interesting show because instead of it being one, two, three, all three were on stage at all times. So one would tell a story, sing a song, and then they just go down the line. And they were all really good, of course. Patti Griffin is a national treasure. And every time I go see her, which is now at least two, maybe six, I don't know. I really lose track. I'm always hoping Robert Plant's going to come out because he has done songs with her and he dated her at least, or is dating her. We don't know, and I don't care enough to check. He did not come out yet again. So much like the Great Pumpkin, Robert Plant is not showing up at the Sheldon. But the amazing thing is, and this is one of the things we talk about a lot on this show, and how if you want to support artists, if you want to support bands, if you want to keep the music industry being a music industry, buy merch. The first song by Laurie McKenna was called "People Get Old," and it was wonderful and beautiful. I looked at Lawyer Wife and I said, "She's got to start sucking, or I'm going to go buy a record." And she just looked at me and she went, "Mm-hmm, that is correct." Next song rolls, I get a tap, tap, tap. I'm like, I'm off. I'm gonna go pee and get a beer too. So yeah, and then as we were driving home, that we had a whole big to do that day. As we're driving home, I'm looking at the record, and she goes, "Does people get old on there?" I'm like, "No." She's like, "Okay, get that record too." So those are later checks, but always buy. And the record at the show was only $25. Which I'm like,
Wow.
25 bucks? Really? Okay,
God,
awesome.
that's usually, I mean, I'm hard pressed to see him for less than 30 usually at a show. That's impressive.
Exactly, exactly. All right. Keefe, your news check, sir.
So I did want to ask Don, as part of his Gilmore review, to kind of shine a light a little bit on his trip to New York. I hope it was a good time.
Thank
Hopefully
God we're
you're
going to get some
lasting.
more New York content.
Hopefully more New York content. Hopefully your entire time was not colored brown because of that human poo you saw, but
Mm.
otherwise sunny. But this is an interesting and important topic I wanted to bring up for the news. There's plenty of stuff to talk about. Um, Going back to May, Billboard, for what it's worth, put out an article mostly on Billboard's pro pages and then kind of resurfaced it as a regular story on billboard.com that vinyl sales were way down. Now, the reporting entity that the record industry uses is a company called Luminate, and they had changed their reporting methodology in the end of 2023, and some stores just were like, we're not going to report to you anymore because they changed what physical sales are recorded. And there was kind of a question as to do they count the same for DIY stores that only get a few copies of something or one copy of something versus a huge chain or a big store? So there was some brouhaha that Billboard reported that vinyl sales are 30% lower so far in 2024. And this was back in the spring. And over the summer and more recently on the Tube of You, we're seeing a lot of pushback against this, that this is not accurate. And I think I can't speak to the data because I don't have access to it, but I will tell you the one thing you're seeing is CD sales are up and music overall. The revenue from the music industry is up 8%, whatever that means. Streaming, vinyl, CDs, cassettes, 8 tracks, whatever's out there. Green Day did a 30th anniversary of Dookie where they were putting out stuff on like a Viewmaster and a Teddy Ruxpin.
The Black Keys did an 8-track.
Yeah, a lot of bands. Ghost, a lot of bands have 8 tracks. Please
oh, really?
Continue.
Sorry.
Respect the sanctity of my news check. Anyway, so I can interrupt you. You can't interrupt me.
I had a salient point to make. Salient.
You did. The 8 tracks are somehow back. Even though Nick does not own a VHS machine to pop in his Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park, if you listen to last week's episode, those are making a comeback somehow. Actually,
and
I think
have
a Green Day.
Seven Samurai.
I think a Green Day VHS was also issued weirdly. Korn put out a concert on VHS recently. I was like, for who? Who is this for? But anyway, I wanted your take on this. So I think there's a lot of pushback on that 30% number, along with the changing of the calculating. I think what you're seeing and what I have gleaned, not empirical data, but what I have gleaned from amassing a bunch of content is a lot of people feel like casual vinyl buyers and people who are buying to support artists who don't have a player, which is at least 50% of vinyl collectors, I think they're dipping. So you're not seeing a huge bunch of people purchasing the new Taylor Swift album all across the board because people are burned out on her anyway and they can't afford tickets to her shows as popular as she is. So maybe because of the Adele effect that we've talked about on the show before, Don may not be aware, Adele over manufacturing her pitiful
double
I'm still
album.
Angry about that. Let's never talk about that again.
Was that the one that came out like 2 Christmases ago?
Yeah, she shipped it.
And it was also and it was manufactured terribly, so they don't play well. Most of them.
Oh my God,
play.
I didn't even know that.
Imagine
I saw those at record stores for $5 a month.
Well, I think so. Collectors are finding like, oh, if you wanted to fill out your collection and suddenly people are dumping their vinyl, I don't think that's actually happening. But casual fans are now like, I'm over it, and they're dumping it. So like, if you needed to fill a spot in your, hey, I'm missing Presents by Led Zeppelin, there's probably a record store day, a fancy, Walmart vinyl color out there for a record you don't have that is not going to be the price they paid. It's going to be like $5-10. So like if you have a gap in your collection, you still love vinyl like we do, maybe this is a thing. But I just wanted a quick take from each of you. In your opinion, do you think vinyl is actually sit down? And do you just think it's other factors as to why it looks that way?
One, yes, I do believe it's down. And I have no problem with that. I think the reasonings why it may be down might be something that people haven't talked about. You mentioned Taylor Swift. Good job, Keefy. That gives me a great pivot. Her last album, she released like 8 different versions of. And Billie Eilish did the same thing. And there's a lot of bands that do that. Every Kiss and Kiss-related release gets about, like Ace Frehley, every Ace Frehley solo record, Monarch Records now, puts out like 10 to 15 different versions of them. All different colors. And I think what you're seeing is people are going, why am I getting 8 versions of the same album? So I think you're going to see people pulling back on that. And yes, I think you're seeing people pulling back on buying them to not listen to them. The people like us that listen, that spin, that clean the damn things, that upgraded our cartridge and head shell, no, we have not changed. We have been around forever. We will always be here. The vinyl market is going to ebb and flow. Just for the record, I wasn't always here. I joined in 2015. I admit that fully, but I have 1,500 records now. So accept me or go to hell. And people like that are going to be around everywhere. People are not dumping their collections. If you go, I went to 2 different record stores this past weekend for a record I'll be checking in a couple of months now. But I got FOMO at Vintage Vinyl because I had this album in my hands and I didn't buy it. So after on Sunday, the kid and I went to Joe's Records STL at South County Mall. So we went to two different record stores in the course of a weekend, and both places had it. Both of these stores, vintage vinyl used to be a haven for used records and used music, and it's not anymore. If you go to any bin that they have, and they do it right, they have their new and used records in the same bin, unlike Joe's that has them separated, which I just don't get that. And I went to Planet Score Records the week before. We try to we try to be social butterflies at all the record stores in St. Louis as best as we can, because they're all good for something. And we were at Dead Wax Records the week before that. But in record stores like Joe's, like Planet Score, and like Vintage Vinyl, 80% of their stock or more is new records. So what we are seeing is people turning in less to the record store. If you're one of those people that just has them just to support the bands, when you're going to get rid of them, you're just going to go dump them at the record store. And there is not an influx of used records. In fact, there's a scarcity of used records. So I would say there's probably a 10 to 15% swing from people like myself who are buying way more used material than I am new. And then couple that with, you have kids that don't need 8 versions of Taylor Swift's new record, and there you've got your 30%. Will vinyl continue to be a growing, wonderful thing in the future? Yes, it's not going anywhere. I just think we're seeing a little bit of market correction right now.
Donald, any thoughts?
Yeah. Well, so I'm assuming, Keith, those numbers are solely based on new releases, correct? As far as like,
I think
because
it's totals, industry totals, 30% year over
That's
year,
that's just going
complete
to be
sales.
that's just going to be new releases. They're not
but
going to
new,
track new.
I mean, I'm talking like new pressings. We're not talking like, records in general. Because I'm assuming there's not really a great way to track used record sales because they've already been
No, they're not tracking used sales, but I think they're accounting for brand new sales. So brand new sales, not necessarily brand new albums, but brand new record
brand
sales.
new records. Okay, yeah, because
Right.
I can totally see it. I mean, the other thing too is, uh, I don't know about you guys, but I've seen a lot of the trend as far as people who are buying a lot of new records, and they do tend to be a lot of younger people. And as these younger people are growing up, getting out of college, moving out of a dorm, they're kind of realizing, wait a minute, I don't have $300 to buy the 7 variants of Midnights by Taylor Swift, or I don't have the room to store all of these records. So they're either going to stop buying them or drastically slow down buying them. And like you said, I think that what's going to happen is that these new releases that are coming out, when they turn them back around, they're just dumping them back at the store. And I think in general is that with the industry, and I don't know if it's because of this, the cost overall of pressing this, that, and the other, but I do tend to find a lot of new releases very highly priced.
Yeah, it's
Like,
a little terrifying how much
like I
some of
was
these are costing now.
I was browsing through the records at Walmart one day, just kind of poking through, and they had a like Walmart exclusive copy of Somewhere in Time, on like a yellow vinyl or some yellow vinyl cover or whatever. It was
$45, right?
yeah, it was like 33.90 something. And I was like,
Mm,
now give it that if you found a used copy or like an original, like first pressing, you'd probably pay that
I would
maybe.
pay 33 for a first press.
But see, I would too. So
But
if
I'm
I'm
not
gonna
paying
pay,
30. But I don't trust the 180s. I don't trust the new pressings.
see, and I think the thing for me with that is that, uh, a good example was that I wanted a copy, and I wanted a replacement copy of Ride the Lightning. I lost it years ago. It got permanently borrowed. You try to find a good pressing of that online, and then you're going to pay $40-50 for it. I found a copy.
I have
Yeah,
blackened on everything except for Kill 'Em All.
I found a copy of that version, at a Target, I think, and it was like 18.99. So I
Yeah,
bought it.
and they're the blackened pressings are actually fine.
You know,
Metallica actually believes in it. And I think
I
that's
don't have an issue with the 180 grams, to be honest. I mean, like, even being a music fanatic I am and a musician, like, I listen to music and I listen to it for what it is. And, the only thing I will say is I have seen a lot of these reissues that are coming out from these, like, small labels, which basically we know are basically bootlegs that are
right.
being
The
cut
the
off
issue
of
I
a
have
digital
is
copy.
the issue I have is so many we don't know what the sources are anymore.
And that's the problem because I've gotten a copy of a few records where you put it on and it's so low. Like
Yeah, yeah.
I've got it up on like 32 to get it to sound how it would be on like 18,
Right.
for
The
another
original
album.
pressings are the OG pressings are much clearer, they're much louder. And
Yeah.
like the Pink Floyd represses kind of suck ass, which is
Really,
unfortunate.
that's interesting because I actually thought the one for Animals was quite good.
Which
Like I
you're
actually,
talking are you talking 2018?
no, what was the last one that came out? Was that
2018.
2018?
Yeah, that's different. That's a
No,
different deal.
yeah, yeah, it was
The
that one.
silver one, the updated one.
Yes, yes,
That's not a
yeah.
repress. That's a different deal. It's a different deal.
Okay, okay,
But
that's
I
then
I have an original pressing of Delicate Sound of Thunder, and I have the latest updated pressing of Delicate Sound of Thunder as well, the 3 disc
okay.
version. The 2 disc version sounds like heaven. The
Yeah.
original pressing of it, not the repress, but I have an
Right,
original.
right.
I got that in a box of records. 3 times in my life, I was told, "Here's a record collection we do not have room for. Come take everything you want. Take all of them if you want." Only one time did I come home with Pink Floyd, but not the point. And I've also got an original pressing of Delicate Sound of Thunder as well.
Hmm.
And I went from the repress, the 180 gram repress of The Wall, to a first press, an American first press. Now, when you get into the 70s, first pressing means a whole lot less than it does later
Yeah.
because there are four American first pressings, depending on which part of the country you get it from. So, but it is one of the first pressings, and it sounds so much better. And I think that's another part of the reason why we're seeing like the reissues slow down because the people that are listening to those are pulling back after the MoFi scandal.
Hmm. Absolutely.
So you've got the
Absolutely.
MoFi scandal, you've got the people that have been growing up buying them as Gen Z, Gen Alpha, millennials, pulling back a little bit, not buying now that they're not living at home, not buying several versions of each one. This is much like the record industry and the radio industry in 1996. We're at a perfect storm where we're going to see a market correction and we're going to get to where vinyl isn't necessarily the dominant musical format,
Hmm.
and frankly it never really it shouldn't be the dominant musical format in this day and age because of the way we see music as people now. We don't see music as the average person does not see music as something to do. They see music as a chunk of what you're doing.
And I think that's probably why people of our generation like vinyl again, because not only is it a nostalgic thing, but it also is a like if you're going to listen to a record, like you have to actually dedicate yourself to it. Like
Exactly.
if you put a record on and you get up and go get a beer and take a piss, you're flipping it over already. So you have to go take your piss,
Unless you got a beer
get your
fridge
beer.
in the room with you.
Right, but like you can't do it as bad. Let's say like you're sitting down, you're kind of,
And it
getting
also
immersed in
really
it.
sucks to play online video games while listening to vinyl. So you've got to really set it up right. Make sure so that way you're not all of a sudden fighting a boss. People are like, Batra, where'd you go?
But that's the thing is that like I feel like that maybe what it is that the vinyl sales are gonna go down. Maybe they're gonna,
They're
or
gonna
maybe
they're
it's even
gonna
plateaued a little bit. But I still think people like us are gonna continue.
they're gonna go down and they're gonna we're having a market correction. It was way too high.
Yeah,
It's now
yeah.
gonna drop way too low. It's gonna get it the producers are gonna figure out how better to service the consumer, and one of those things is going to be lowering prices. I've talked, and this is going to be the last thing I say. We'll move on to the meat of the episode if everybody's okay with that.
Yeah.
Um, oh, sure, check. I apologize, Keefy.
Wait. I'm gonna let you finish your point. I have one more point about this point, and then sure check me quickly. Go ahead.
Works for me. Where was I? I lost my point. Go ahead, Keefy.
All right. Maybe it'll come
And
back
it was
to
a
you.
great one, by the way, just for the record.
Really quick, I'm going to rattle off the list of best-selling vinyls of 2024 so far. How many of these do you think are rock bands? And how
I'm
many
sorry. I
are
remember my point. Go ahead.
current bands?
JP. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm going to rattle off the list of the top. I'm going to officialcharts.com. If you're a huge music nerd, you can go there and find all kinds of cool data. Here's the list of the top. I'll just give you 20 of the 40 because we're pressed for time. What are the top selling vinyls of 2024 actually? And my question to the two of you before I read this list is, how many are rock bands and how many are new bands, not legacy acts?
3 and 1. 3 rock, 1 new.
Yeah.
What are you saying? I'm sorry. Is that like a nexus?
Last
like
10 years.
rock?
Last 10 years.
Right.
But not a legacy artist.
Right, but do you mean new artist period or new rock artist?
New rock artist.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna go 3 rock.
Because you know this list is going to be all commercial anyway.
Yeah, three rock, 3 rock, probably 1 new rock.
Okay, here we go. Number 1, we'll just go in reverse order. So number 1 selling vinyl of the year on down, Tortured Poets Department, Taylor Swift.
Yep.
Nothing shocking.
Definitely maybe by Oasis, just on the hype of the tour, the reunion.
Yeah, wow, okay, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Surprising to me. Hit Me Hard, Hit and Soft, Billie Eilish, not a shock.
So we're up to 1 rock.
But they're also, to me, a legacy band. So,
but no, you just said rock and new.
Yeah, right. Rock and
or 1 and
not a legacy.
1 and 0.
Yeah, so 1 and 0. Number 4, shocking. Romance, Fontaine's DC, which is an Irish punk band I saw like last month.
That's 2 and 0.
And they were sold out of vinyl on the tour on the 3rd day of the tour. So that could be why. Good for them. So that is a relatively new band. Chapel Roan, Rise and Fall of Midwest Princess. Again, not shocking.
Missouri, represent.
Rumors, Fleetwood Mac, number 6.
3 and 0.
Seriously? Like
that record is going to sell 400 billion copies before the earth goes into the sun. Live it, love it, learn it, accept it.
Continuing. Short and sweet, Sabrina Carpenter. Again, not a shock. Big pop princess right now. Pretty good voice. Liam Gallagher and John Squire's self-titled album. What?
I'm not counting that as anything. I'm going to throw that in the sun.
That's a frisbee.
Yeah, frisbee.
Prelude to Ecstasy, Last Dinner Party. I'm not familiar with this artist.
No idea.
I'm going to guarantee you that's pop of some sort.
Probably. Number 10, and not a surprise to any of the three of us, The Dark Side of the Moon, Pink Floyd, number 10.
Always and always, man.
Look, if Rumors is in, Dark Side of the Moon is in. Let's call a thing what it is.
Forever and ever, man.
Quickly going through the next 10. Radical Optimism, Dua Lipa, unsurprising. No real great songs, though. Back to Black, Amy Winehouse. A lot of Amy Winehouse hype right now because of the movie and the anniversary of her passing. Not a great band by this album. Not a great album by this band, but a good band. Tank by Idols. Good band, not their best album. What the fudge? Nicholas, mute yourself.
Sorry.
God. Brat by Charlie XCX. Again, not a shock.
Yeah.
Guts, Olivia Rodrigo. I feel like this is a 23 album, but it's it's huge this year.
I didn't break the glass.
Legend, Bob Marley and the Wailers. Just never ending.
We're 5 and 0.
Well, I don't. What do you?
I actually remember reading somewhere that album spikes around the time college starts.
Did you say Legend, the greatest hits? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
They shouldn't count that shit. Greatest hits don't count. Sorry.
I mean, Rumors is basically.
Find me a cloud that I may yell at it.
Yeah. Old man yells at cloud. A shocking 2024 release, Saviors by Green Day. Pretty solid.
5 and 0.
Again, I only consider of this whole list, Fontaine's DC and Idols are bands from the last 10 years or so. Not a lot of new rock bands out of this whole list. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, not one yet.
And then 18, Taylor Swift, 1989, Taylor's version on vinyl.
I have that.
Which I think 66 by Paul Weller.
I don't even know what that is.
Weird EDM people. And Cowboy Carter by Beyonce, which was like wildly loved and hated.
Okay, so I said 3 and 1. We ended up 5 and 0. My earlier point about The point everybody's making is that new music is not selling as well as the old music, which I mean I think that's I'm gonna call Jane's addiction on that one. It's nothing shocking.
Mhm.
And moving on to my previous point, one of the things in the market correction I think we're going to see is Judas Priest Firepower, which I have met, not Firepower, but the latest Judas Priest record. I put it on pre-order. It was $45, and as time wore on, I went $45. No, fuck you. That's, I mean, I know it's a double disc. It's like 60 minutes, maybe more, but I'm like, this $45 is that is a travesty, and I'm not paying it. So I think part of the market corrections we're going to see less frill packaging in order to put out a more inexpensive product. Perhaps we'll see far more of here is the super mega version, here's the regular version. That's
I
what
think,
people
yeah.
would do if they were smart. But anyway, moving on, let us now move on to the meat of the episode now that we have whacked our puds about all the things. Oh, shirt check. I messed around and got a triple double, which is a line, of course, from Ice Cube's "It's Been a Good
Yeah,
Day."
good day.
Back when Ice Cube was one of us.
Oh yeah.
Not me, like white
He's-
people, but the
Yeah.
general populace.
My Jimmy runs
he's been
deep.
a multi millionaire since the 90s. So was he really? And he was never from. By the way, he's like, if you know NWA history,
I know
he was
he's
busted.
not
He's not
from
from
He
the
was
streets.
busted. He's like
He
super
never took-
educated.
He didn't. He's not so much super educated. He came from an upper middle
Okay,
class
fine.
household.
It's when he pretended
He is the best rapper of. He's the most talented person of that whole.
Well, yeah,
world,
I mean,
including
Oh,
Johnny-
Johnny.
absolutely.
NWA was the
100%.
greatest. It was the greatest fusion of three people plus Ren and Yella, where you have the guy that inspires you, the guy that can write the lyrics, and the guy that can do the music. It's
Mhm.
perfection. And then
I just-
Eazy-E's also there to rap.
I literally
that's
just
some
and
reason.
also Easy is there.
Easy is there too.
Well, he bankrolled the whole thing, so he's
He
the friend they
bankrolled
had
it.
to bring.
He bankrolled it,
He
inspired
had the
it,
money.
and he's
so
also
he had
there.
He had to also show up. He punched a card. I did just literally watch Boys in the Hood an hour ago before doing this pod.
Great movie.
You know what I heard about the Boys in the Hood? They're
What?
always hard.
All right.
Okay. Saw that
References.
coming.
More references. Don is wearing his delightful David Gilmour Tour shirt.
Yep.
Cool,
Rocking
I
the
like
Dave.
that.
Rocking
I
the
like
Dave.
that.
$10 in the parking lot.
There is no parking lot at Madison Square Garden.
Well, and the walk around, the
8th
I'm supposed to
Avenue
say
and
parking
34th
lot.
Street.
Yeah, that's exactly. It was right there. Actually, it was right across the street. So, yeah.
Yeah, they butchered the building across the street from Madison Square Garden is the original main branch of the public library, of the public post office of New York City. And it was a glorious, beautiful building. And then they pilfered it to make a new part of Penn Station underground.
That's what somebody was telling me because I didn't
It is
know
still
that.
a beautiful building.
Yeah. I will say the garden is incredible. Yeah, it's a garden. But
yeah,
yeah,
it's great, right? And they redid a lot of it in the last like 15 years. I hate the two owners because they own the Knicks and Rangers also, and they're a bit despicable, the Dolans. But the building is still lovely. I have many, many wonderful memories of shows there, and I am wearing just one of my favorite shirts that's beat to shit. This is my X-Files I Want to Believe shirt. Because I'm ready for the aliens to come beam me up. By the way, David Gilmour, Luck and Strange, the 27th best-selling vinyl this year. 27th.
Great record. Previous podcast subject, David Gilmour.
Right.
Luck and Strange.
All right. Meet. Nick set it up. Don,
All right,
go for it. I'm going to be quiet.
Dave Gilmour, as he's getting older and he doesn't need to road dog it, now kind of road yachts it, I guess, for lack of a better term.
road planes it. Yeah.
Road luxury yachts. He rode Raymond luxury yacht it. I'm sorry, Throat Wobbler Mangrove. Anybody gets that reference, you're awesome and you're in the right place. So this tour basically only had 4 cities. He did London, he did Rome, he did Los Angeles, he did New York. He did a mini residency in each one, 5 to 7 shows. So it's about, plus the 2 or 3 rehearsal shows in Brighton, basically about 35, 40 shows for this tour, which, you know what, 35, 40 shows is pretty good for an 878-year-old man that watched Les Paul invent the electric guitar. So he put out Luck and Strange, which was a surprise record, I think, for everybody in this room. and probably everybody listening to this at a very, very advanced age. And I think also to the surprise of everyone in this room, it is a surprisingly strong record. It is my personal third favorite of his 5 solo records. My list goes Self, Island, Strange, um, Lock, and About Face. The last 2 I don't require, frankly. I'm going to quickly go over the set list. I'm going to ask Don some questions and then give him some free time to address the class. This is a 2-set show with an encore. Set 1, 5 a.m., Black Cat, Luck and Strange, Speak to Me, Breathe in the Air, Time, Breathe, Fat Old Sun, good to see that back, Marooned, A Single Spark, Wish You Were Here, Vita Brevis with Romani, Between 2 Points, also with Romani, High Hopes, also with Romani. Set 2 is Sorrow, also with Romani, The Piper's Call, also with Romani, A Great Day for Freedom with Romani. Oh, I'm sorry. She's saying backup on a bunch of this, and I'm really wasting time mentioning your name every time. Great Day for Freedom, In Any Tongue, The Great Gig in the Sky, A Boat Lies in Waiting. He also played those as a couplet on Live in Pompeii on the Rattle That Lock tour. Coming Back to Life, Dark and Velvet Nights, Sings, Scattered, and the encore is Comfortably Numb. On this tour, he basically was playing all of his new record, Luck and Strange, which he also did for On an Island. And you know what? Big props to any artist that comes out and does that. Because you know what? When I saw Metallica, I wanted to hear a lot more new stuff than I did. And I love, I mean more Death Magnetic stuff because I missed that tour. But I love it when a band comes out. I love it when an artist, when they're doing a new album, they say, we are doing a new album. That is the point of this tour. You had all the other tours to see all the classic material. So, Don, was there a surprise song for you, or were there any big surprises for you? Because I haven't really checked the set list that much. So,
Now, do you mean like surprises, as in like something I didn't know that they were going to play? Because
like anything that just seemed different, that seemed strange, that you're like, huh, I didn't expect that.
so I think it did. Well, it didn't help that he pretty much has kept the same set list for every show since the start. But that's always been his thing. Floyd did it. Tons of people do this. So. But it was one of those things where I'm looking at the set list and in my mind, I'm trying to figure out how it's working, if that makes sense. Because
No, it
I
makes
will
sense.
I will be totally honest, Luck and Strange to me is my favorite Gilmour solo release. I personally, again, you know, as we are all Floyd freaks and whatever, we all have that thing that we connect with. So for me, you know, it goes, Luck and Strange, On an Island, Rattle That Clock, Rattle That Lock, and self-titled, and then falls in. But I think with Luck and Strange for me, what it was that it seemed to me to be the most consistently good album as far as thematically. Like, it's dark. It's very much a guy looking at his own, mortality here. He knows that this is getting close. And he really put it all in there. And so when it came to seeing this performed live, I was actually more excited to hear the Luck and Strange material. I mean, love the Floyd stuff, but we've heard it. We've heard it done. We know he does it extremely well. He does it incredibly. But I was really excited to see how it would mesh with the Floyd songs and whatnot. I was actually surprised how out the gates it was just like strong, like, I mean, you had the 5 a.m. intro, you had, went right into Black Cat, which again, it was just kind of like almost like rolling out the carpet. But Luck and Strange itself had such a punch that it actually felt like a lost Floyd song in a way because of how it was delivered, the environment, the way it felt, the reaction that this crowd, that was the biggest surprise to me, was the reaction that the new songs were getting.
It's interesting how there are certain bands in this world, and I should say certain fan bases, and I think Keefy would agree with me that Metallica is one of them. There are certain fan bases that are just so dead set against an artist becoming a legacy band.
Mhm.
And one of the hallmarks of being a legacy band is not playing anything you did on your previous album that was a new album. You toured that, it's done, it's over. Let's get you the hits, let's get you this one. And I'm just going to say, he did not play my favorite song off Rattle That Lock, which is Rattle That Lock.
Rattle that lock.
But interesting enough. So it's really cool because I think Pink Floyd fans, and I think that's one of the things probably that has disappointed a lot of Pink Floyd fans with Roger Waters, is he has about as much faith in his solo material as I do in my six pack hiding under my beer belly.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
He tours it once and then, yep, done with that. I mean, when's the
Mhm.
last time he's played anything off of any solo record that wasn't the one he was touring that day?
Yeah. Yeah. But
And
I
to
mean, but that's
me,
also
if
very common for a lot of bands,
it,
especially of
no,
that
it is
era.
common for a lot of bands that choose to revel. When I stop saying
Mhm.
Ace Frehley because it's like I can see Shitty Kiss or even Shittier Kiss.
Yeah.
That's Kiss and Ace Frehley, shitty and shittier.
Yeah.
And if you're not going to play the songs I like, why am I going to go?
Mhm.
And I'm going to see a solo artist. I'm not going to see, I want to see both. I want to see, like when I saw Gwen Stefani, she only played 3 No Doubt tunes. She did a little suite in the middle, and I believe she played one at the end during the encore, and that was it. Because she's like, I am Gwen Stefani, the solo artist. This is not No Doubt.
Mhm.
And I love it when bands do that, when solo artists do that. Ozzy Osbourne, when he left Black Sabbath, he had 2 roads he could go. He could go down the Black Sabbath legacy route,
Mhm.
or he could say, we have a whole album's worth of material. We only got to play 4 Black Sabbath tunes. We have a set. And do that, pound it, hit it, and then all of a sudden you strike gold with Crazy Train. That's the difference between a solo artist and a legacy artist.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And I think with Gilmore this time around, like there were some things that I would have liked to have heard. Like I would have loved to have heard like The Blue, you know, or On an Island. But at the same time, though, to me, what made those 2 songs truly great, especially from that tour, was the fact that he had David Crosby and Graham Nash with him doing those incredible harmonies, on those 2
3D,
songs.
3D.
3D, yes. But I mean, to me that was beautiful, And so of course, like as much as I would have loved to have heard that, I know they would have been great, but I would have missed that element of it. Still would have liked to have heard them. But I do have to say that the choice of songs to bring in, so like the fact that he brought in Marooned, and then he brought in, Sorrow, and I have to say, like this, the real sleeper of this tour is Between Two Points with his daughter Romany singing lead vocals and playing harp. That brought the house down every show. Like everyone just loved it, and I thought it was fantastic. But it was going from that into High Hopes that just kind of, it almost created an epic of sorts. You know, the set list was extremely well thought out. It was perfectly like sequenced. And I think the other surprise to me too was, aside from Comfortably Numb, Fat Old Son got the biggest reaction of any of the Floyd songs that were played that night.
Interesting note, that is the first like real thing he wrote. That was
Yeah.
when Roger was like, "Hey, I can't write all of this, so write something."
Hmm.
And so we got Fat Old Son on Adam Hart Mother, which I think Adam Hart Mother is a very underrated version of metal. It's got some really good stuff on there. I believe it also has If, correct me if I'm wrong, or is If
Yes,
on?
it does.
If is probably my absolute favorite Roger Waters penned song because he's so vulnerable and
Hmm.
honest, and we lose that from him 6 months after that record.
Yeah.
Um, I'm looking at the set list, and it's interesting to me that of the Pink Floyd songs he played 12, if I got my
Hmm.
math right. Great Day for Freedom, Breathe. I'm not going to count Reprise. We're going to call it 11. Of the 11, only 4 were off of his Pink Floyd records.
Yeah.
Because we've got Great Day for Freedom, Coming Back to Life, High Hopes, Marooned, Sorrow. I'm sorry, 5.
So 5. Yeah.
So 5 of the 11. He said he wasn't going to play as many Pink Floyd classics, which apparently is quite untrue. He played 6 and he only played off of, because he played obviously Comfortably Numb from The Wall, and then Wish You Were Here, Fat Old Son, and then the rest were from Dark Side of the Moon. So I'm going to say nothing really shocking on the Pink Floyd spread. Any thoughts on that?
No, again, I mean, when he made that whole spiel about how he was going to be dialing back on the Floyd songs that he was doing, I did, however, love that he made a point though to say, like, it's not that I'm not playing Floyd songs though, but like they're going to be more concentrated on the Gilmour-ish era of Floyd, you know? I mean, the fact that but it also speaks volume about his pride behind the Division Bell, you know? I think the Division Bell is an extremely good album. I think
that
it's
is an
strong.
album I really turned around on later. It
took me years.
It took me decades. Once
Yeah.
I understood that this is not the same band that wrote The Wall, and because The Wall's my entry point. So it's really important for me to recognize that The Wall isn't even a band.
The Wall is Roger Waters.
The Wall is Roger, Ezrin, and a little bit of Gills, but not much. I mean, nobody else had anything. He said, you know, what do you got? We got nothing. Okay, I got X and I got Y. Which one do you want to do? One's you, one's me. And David said the same thing. He's like, I couldn't blame him. We didn't have anything. You know, both Nik, all the other 3 guys before The Wall released solo records. Well, Nik recorded his, but it was released much later. But so they weren't all as creatively unspent as Roger was at that moment. Roger had been brooding and got angry and wrote 2 records. So I think it's interesting that he didn't focus more on. So anyway, the David Gilmour era. I love Momentary Lapse. The reason that was a record, that was one of my first Pink Floyd albums that I owned. It wasn't my entry point, but it was one of the first I owned, so I listened to it quite a bit. And I have greater appreciation of that album than your average Pink Floyd fan. And then once I could accept that the Division Bell is not The Wall, is not Animals, is not Wish You Were Here, it's a different band. It's a different band, it's a different vision. Doesn't mean that vision and band is bad. Once I could accept the poetic, esoteric lyrics that don't mean anything, I could really get on board with that record. High Hopes is one of my favorite songs. I said what I said.
You know who really sucks?
Who?
Holly Sampson as a lyricist. Anyway, that's my contribution.
Hey, am I wrong about what I said?
No. I personally think Momentary Lapse is a better record because he knew he couldn't carry the weight of the band as a lyricist, even though I think he should have gave himself a chance to try. Look, there's no topping. Listen, he's a deplorable person, but Roger is an incredible lyricist, right? He's the lyricist who's told the stories of our
dementia
lives.
Patient now.
These 3 people on this podcast, this dude, along with the movies of Kevin Smith, have told the story of my life, and I'm sure you both would say the same.
Oh yeah.
But also,
my kid actually watched Clerks without telling me.
37? Anyway,
I'm like, I don't know how to feel about this.
In a row?
She's a preteen. She's a preteen.
No, she's 13. She's 13.
Oh, God. Anyway, I don't know. Want to think about it. But,
I don't know either. I'm like, should we watch Mallrats next, or is that bad parenting?
I think you kind of have to now.
Yeah, now you're stuck.
The Pandora's box is open to Caitlin Bree's room, and now you have to go in it.
So, so what kind of convenience store are you running here?
Yeah.
He thought it was me.
The fine is unusually high because of the age of the child.
Due to the unusually young age of the child.
Look, Keefy's not even supposed to be here today.
I'm not supposed to be here today. Polly is
yourself,
terrible.
Don.
Division Bell is great, but Polly is a really subpar lyricist. I'm gonna die on that hill. She's not.
I will look. I will be there with you. I will be your paladin. I will be your white mage, whichever one you want me to do. I will have my shield or my healing staff. I will die on that hill. Her lyrics are meaningless. It's flowery, beautiful words. Okay, that's fine. It's not as fine when you come from Animals, The Wall, Wish You Were Here, Dark Side of the Moon, where you have this anger at where the world is going, and then you get to the final cut. You might not like the final cut. Most Pink Floyd fans don't. But
No,
you know what?
no.
If Roger had given it the Dark Side of the Moon treatment, the final cut would be a classic.
Yeah, I agree.
Collaborated rather than dictated. But I do think Division Bell is actually a better record than Momentary Lapse of Reason, just because I think
Absolutely.
I think the songs are better. I think if you had had better lyrics, like High Hopes is a great, wonderful song. If the lyrics had made any fucking sense, rather than the Division Bell has rung, the endless river, all put up and down the causeway, it hints at this secret, at this knowledge that's coming, that you're going to get it, and you're going to be a better human being. And then it's over. And you just hear, ding. What the fuck was that?
And maybe it's just because I'm a songwriter and I'm a lyricist myself, though. I don't write in that style or anything, but I think what I heard from that, and I will say, there are some very, very, very questionable moments in those songs where I'm going, really, Polly, did you just say we diss each other? Like, I don't understand why you threw that in there. But at the same time, when I was, and again, this might just be me getting cosmic. I don't know. It's the edible, whatever. I don't care. But when I heard High Hopes the first time, I loved that song, but I didn't quite understand why it made me feel the way it did. After what just happened, we said we weren't going to talk about the big P word here, but after what just happened to us, when I listened to that song and I heard him singing those words, I was in tears because all of a sudden it made complete sense in a way that it didn't make sense before. And to me,
okay, remind me to listen to that record or some record with it on it. I have multiple on Thursday.
I mean, so like with that being said, like to me, as a writer, that is a sign of a good writer. Whether or not you think that the words are great or that they make sense or whatever, but when someone can write a song and 30 something years later have it take on a completely different meaning without the words changing.
I get so much more meaning from the video of that song, like the balloons or something that's happening. And that's what I mean, where the song implies this hidden knowledge, this plot, but it doesn't bear that fruit. But let's move on, because we could argue this forever.
I have 2 quick points.
Go ahead.
One is a point, and then the other one is a question for Dawn, if I may.
Of course.
I like to be reminded of when Beavis and Butthead watched the High Hopes video, and
always Beavis and Butthead. We just can't get away from Beavis and Butthead, Kevin Smith, or Pink Floyd.
We shouldn't ever. This
Agreed,
is our brand.
We shouldn't.
This is on the label. It does what it says on the tin.
We are just the Gen X slacker. We are just the Gen X slackers. Give us a chance.
If only the rest of the people would subscribe and know this.
The Gen X slackers. The Gen slackers.
That would be our band.
The Gen slackers.
I love it. The Gen slacksers.
Beavis surmised that everybody in Britain is a wuss because if everybody's just walking around, the grass is greener. And he's like, I can go kick their asses. Like even Beavis can go kick the ass of the average British person. Who's the grass is greener. The grass is greener. My question, Don, because it's a brand new band, basically, for David. What was your, obviously it sounds like they performed, fantastically, but personally, what was your impressions of this band beside Romani, who we've discussed is poised to do for David and do for herself what Violet Grohl has done for the Foo Fighters? What is your take on the new composition of the Gilmour live band?
So I thought it was absolutely brilliant. And to be honest, up until this point, I thought his best lineup was the On an Island lineup, you know. I
You're
thought
just
that
saying
lineup.
that to massage the memory of Rick Wright.
No, well, no, and actually, to
I'm
be
just
totally
being
honest,
edgy.
I
I'm just
know.
being edgy.
But and the funny thing was that it wasn't even just because of Rick Wright. You know, I mean, it
And for the
was.
record, the estate of Rick Wright released Broken China on fucking vinyl. I want to buy it. I want to send you money.
I would love to hear that. You know, but I feel like that, like Gilmour's band for that tour. You know, I forgot the drummer's name that he had. It was Crosby and Nash's drummer that he had on
The
that
pirate
tour.
looking, the Robin Hood guy.
Yeah, yeah, that they made fun of his little ruffles. Anyway, Steve something I forgot. Anyway, I thought that was a great band. This band, like, completely stratospheric. It sounded like he's been playing with this band for decades, and I don't know. Nothing about it sounded hired gun. Nothing about it sounded like they were just popped into place. Like everything was just incredible, and even down to some of the arrangements there was like slight alterations to the arrangements. They did Great Gig in the Sky. It was nothing but piano and David on slide guitar. That was it. One of the backup singers, she I forgot her name already too, because I can't keep up with all these people, but she played the piano and she did one of the vocal parts. Each of the singers took a turn, Romney being one also. Then they would do everything in four-part harmony. I mean, chef's kiss. It was beautiful because it was one of
Just want to
those.
say, I don't
Yeah,
think anybody really talks about David's slide guitar enough.
they don't. He's. I mean, I mean, the fact that he only played it twice, though. I mean, it was absolutely
He played it a little bit on the Division Bell. The problem with the
mind
Division Bell I
blowing.
had back in the day was it was too much of like, oh, we're recreating Dark Side of the Moon. No, you are not. You are recreating the dark side of the facade. But
No, because he did. I mean, because when you think about what he was doing before on the slide, I mean, what he was doing, one of these days, High Hopes. What was the other one? Not
breathe,
Fettle Sun.
breathe.
Breathe. Yes, thank you. So I really thought that the band was actually outstanding, and he actually even said that, like at the end of the show when he was introducing the band and whatnot, he had literally said, and I quote verbatim, that this is the best band I've ever played with. Like,
Okay.
and
No,
but hold
that's like.
on.
Did he say this is the best record I've ever done too? I mean, that's just PR.
So no, I don't think it's PR, because what I think it does is I think it boils down to not just how they play. It's the chemistry. How is the band feeling? And I am
Well, if
not
he's
gonna
ready to
lie.
do a 200 show tour and play St. Louis 6 times in a row, I'll go.
He was engaged. He was engaging. Like the band was like eye contact, smiling, kind of like clustering together at times. I mean, like none of it was synthetic or fake, but you could just really tell that there was a connection between them. It didn't feel as what's the word? I mean, it didn't feel static. It didn't feel like,
Paper.
yeah, I mean, these people were like, there was a flow to it. And it definitely resonated with the audience and resonated with me, because he managed to find a way that these guys played were so well that he was playing as a unit as opposed to him being forefront and like backed. And I mean, even from a visual standpoint, the way the stage was set up, they were all set up equal length. He was set up slightly off to stage right so that the drummer was within the, line of sight. It looked like a band and it sounded like a band, and it
Now,
was
can I get a little
fantastic.
catty?
Of course. Go ahead.
Okay. David once spoke about, I don't need the round screen. I just don't need that. Some former members of this band need that. Did he have a round screen?
He had a round screen,
Oh, that
but
motherfucker.
and of course, my first thought when I saw that was, Thought you didn't need the round screen, Davy boy.
Okay, so clearly I did not dream this, but what I did hear at a movie once was if you can dream it, you can be it.
You can be it.
So maybe on his next tour he won't have a. That's a different movie.
They will come.
I mean, like maybe he would like to get rid of it, but the reality is it's part of who he is.
You cannot get rid of it.
He has to have the round video screen.
You can try to be David Gilmour as much as you want, but it's Godfather 3. We're gonna pull you back in.
Yeah. One piggyback comment on this last thing with Don and this band composition, and then Nick, you can steer this or wrap this up however you like. Because I'm gonna go
10 more minutes after we're done.
I would like to know how the rest of Don's New York trip went briefly. Maybe we'll save it for next week. But you know, I'm worried about this pizza situation you had. But anyway, you said it was.
That's a next week situation. That's too long. That's gonna go too.
But
long.
let's just say it kept me regular. Well,
that's good to know. Well, I figured. I don't know if you're lactose intolerant or not, but anyway, should have had White Castle. But anywho,
I did have White Castle by the way
when I'm way out west.
I'm so jealous. I would do anything for those chicken rings made of chicken toenails.
Why would you get those? They're gross.
Oh, those were so good. I actually actually went one day just to
Wait a minute. Hang on.
Burger
Don,
fries,
do you go to Crystal?
I do go to Crystal.
You motherfucker.
But they shut them all down around here, so they're hard to find.
I got a Whitey's literally on my street. Why didn't we go when you were here, bro?
I don't know, dude. Botulism is a terrible way to die. But anyway, I was going to say
I've never gotten that at Whitey's. I've gotten the shits a lot.
This point that Don made, to segue back, to pull it back in, this point that Don made about the band and the interactions and the live feel does echo what David said about recording with them. So like we didn't know anything about there's a something's coming. Okay, a single is coming. Okay, single, album announcement, world tour announcement, many more tour dates turned in, 5 dates only in the whole world. And he played 24. But he did say like he felt so good making this record that they've already gone into making the next record. They've already written songs for the future.
We have talked about that so many times. I hope there's a record. I hope that's really, really
So like my last thing was to ask you both, what do you think is the result? So tour, huge selling record for him. He doesn't need to do anything else, but clearly he's already working on a follow-up. Are we getting another record? What year are we getting this record? And will there be a more extensive tour, or is this about the most he can do?
First question to answer that. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the smallest, 10 being the biggest, I'll ask both of you this. How big a surprise was 72 Seasons by Metallica?
I mean, how it came out, it was a 10. We knew they were working on something. We didn't know it was ready to go when it was.
We didn't even know that. We discussed this many times, and your Metallica buddy's like, nothing till 2026.
Right.
So
and then boom, album.
Right. And on a scale of 1 to 10, how big of a surprise was 72 Seasons?
Yeah, like a 10.
Okay. Don? On a scale of 1 to 10, with Metallica 72 Seasons being a 1, how big of a surprise was Luck and Strange? For me, it's a 10.
Oh, for me, it was a total 10. I mean, mainly just because I feel like just one day out of nowhere, Polly Sampson posts a picture on socials of David sitting at a soundboard.
I'm going to go one better. One day, David Gilmour walks up and goes, well, I still have 3 guitars.
Yeah.
I could probably make a record on this. Let's go to the boat.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that
so Blackie, but we can make more.
So
he said in an interview, I can't even tell. Now, again, this is probably PR, but it's like, they're like, what's the difference between your Blackie and your Blackie Strats that you got from Fender? Oh, I don't know. I can't tell the difference. They're all the same.
Not how he sounds.
I know.
Actually,
sorry to interrupt you, Doug.
No, I was just gonna say. Actually, what I did hear about the difference is that one of the guitars is actually tuned down. At least for a live setting, and I can't remember which song they said it was, but one of them is actually, I think, tuned down a half step, and I can't quote me on what song, But I also did hear, which I did not know this. I don't know if you guys know this, but was that the keys slash piano in Luck and Strange was actually Rick Wright. That was uh, Luck and Strange came from a 15-minute jam that they did when they were assembling the On an Island album. And that was a piece of music that he had that never got completed. Uh, he said they had the first go round like of the verse, a bit of the chorus, but what he was able to do was he actually took the parts that Rick Wright had done and
I'm
was
just
able
going
to
to
put
say
them in
again,
and change it all up. So
Broken China vinyl release. Z, let's just pretend that didn't exist.
yeah.
I tried to listen to that and I went, holy shit, I'm not even doing this on the DMA. So to answer Keefy's question earlier,
I was gonna say neither of you have gotten to the answer.
well, I
of this.
asked a setup
that's right.
question to give you
Yeah, Nick
my
interrupted the
answer,
question with his own question.
and then you guys got all like philosophical.
Hey, do you like a great pastrami on rye? Nick is gonna throw some sludge in there from the sewer and see if you still love it. The fuck, man. I love you.
No,
dude, but,
I was
really.
trying to set up this like really verbose, urbane, erudite answer.
Nick
where
is my greasy New
Three of
York
my favorite
pizza.
words. Three of my
What?
favorite words.
I'm not
Nothing.
from
I love
New
it.
York.
I love
I'm from
it.
St.
That's
Louis.
it.
I am your favorite slinger shits.
That's it.
The slinger is the greatest food item in the world, by the way. It's hash browns covered in eggs, covered in onions, covered in chili, covered in burgers.
And it's served with an Imodium
No, it's served with a good luck.
and a roll of toilet paper.
No.
White Castle should come with a square of Charmin at least.
Oh,
Anyway,
at least, dude, in a diaper.
How often? I mean, do I think there is going to be a struck and lange? I fucking hope so.
Strucken.
I mean, it's got to be something different. I mean, right?
Mutt Lange? Strucken Lange?
Well, I mean, Mutt, obviously Mutt producing.
But let's hope not, man, because then we don't want to have like the 32.
Look, I would love
Gilmour
to
vocals,
see. I would
you
love
know?
to see two octogenarians trying to make a record in an all digital studio with their readers on. Better bring in Romani so she can push the fucking buttons. But-
Yeah, and actually wheel them to the bathroom.
That too. And bring a nurse in to wipe them because you can't have your daughter do that to you.
She's
Anyway.
not going to do
Okay.
it. Yeah.
Done.
I hope to
Let's
God
get
there. I hope to God there is another record. It all comes down to David Gilmour. Obviously, I would say in 2018, he retired. He sold all of his guitars. He sold the Black Strat.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I think he even sold Jimi Hendrix's guitar strap that Polly gave him because he was just, I'm done. I'm moving on to the next phase of my life.
I think he still has that one.
He probably kept it. I would kept
Yeah.
it. I would have kept it. Anyway, but
yeah.
he looked like he was moving on to the next phase of his life. And then 4 years later, there is that Pink Floyd-ish song that they called Pink Floyd, the
The
Ukraine
one for
song.
Ukraine. Yeah.
Then
Hey, rise up.
that song was not good.
No, that's the one that had while we
The
fight
Ukrainian
and diss.
rapper. Yeah.
Yeah, like I was like, you fight and diss. I was like, Polly,
great.
go to bed. Okay.
Yeah, go to bed. Then Luck and Strange is announced, and we're all like, holy shit, really? And my honest to God thought was, he doesn't have any guitars. What's he gonna play?
He's
Apparently
David fucking Gilmour.
and you know what? He's got fuck you money at Guitar Center. He can be like, dollar bills, y'all. I guess actually it's pound.
Yeah.
He's gonna go to Pound Town. Give me that Strat with my name on it. I'll buy it from
Don't
you.
they still use euros or they don't?
No, they
Back
never
to the
use
pound.
euros. Duncan has corrected me so many times.
Oh, sorry, Duncan.
So
And
yeah,
the Duncan clause has been invoked twice.
I'm gonna go to Pound Town and buy my guitar with my fucking name on it. Yeah, go ahead and give me 3. I got that kind of money.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, apparently he can just go to the store and buy some guitars and then go to his boat and record on a boat. And next thing you know,
so
we've got a
yes,
straight
another
record.
album. So just I'm gonna pull it like pulling teeth.
Okay,
yes,
fair.
we're getting another album, Nick. And are we getting another tour? Will that tour be more dates than 24 dates?
If we get another album, we will get another tour. I would say honestly, we are at probably 70-30 towards getting an album based on what happened this time because he just got a bug, and if that bug, and he said the bug's already bitten him. And David Gilmour's not Vinnie Vincent. he has delivered on anything he's promised.
David Gilmour is not there. No way.
What you mean? He doesn't keep dogs in a tough Rubbermaid dens?
Whoa! No.
Can we get this answer from Don? Don, new
So
David Gilmour record.
However, if there is a tour, it'll be the same thing we got this time. It'll just be a series of residencies. Eric Clapton, God hate him, said 10 years ago, I'm too old to do full-scale tours. And now we're looking at David Gilmour, 15 years older than Clapton was then. So, no, we'll get the exact same thing. I am hoping that we also get a live album from these residencies.
I really do believe that we're definitely going to get a new album. I mean, again, opinion here, but it's my favorite Gilmour album. It's the one that I feel like hit hard for me. And when I heard it, I was like, that's an album. That's not an album by somebody who's like on their last leg. Like that is an album by somebody who like woke, I don't know, took his creative Viagra and was just like, I'm ready to go,
He woke up the beast.
He did, and not only did he wake it up, but he looked at Polly and he said, "I'm going to be in the room with you when you're writing this time, so I want to see." I thought the album was brilliant.
Go ahead and write that on the whiteboard in big block letters so I can watch what you're doing.
Yes, so I think we are going to get a new album. I really do. Now, as far as the tour goes, I think that if we don't see what he did already, that we will probably see. Probably no more than like either another Royal Albert Hall residence, or he might even do like an O2 kind of thing in London where he might do.
I could see him doing
like. My wife and I were just saying this. I mean, because I know you guys hate the Dead, but like with Dead and Company, they were
doing a residency when I was in Vegas last time.
Yeah, so Bob Weir's 77, going to be 78. So him and Gilmour are very close in age. Bob Weir, the last Dead and Company tour, I think they did 100 shows. Outside in the summer doing sheds, and
not going to happen.
And Bob Weir was just like, this is it for me. I can't tour on this level. So
my buddy Colin Frecknell worked some of that tour. He is now the drummer of Today Is the Day, former podcast discussion topic. But
really?
So no big tour is what you're saying, Don. No big
I don't
tour.
know.
There's no way.
No, but I could see Gilmour wanting to do something as far as the Sphere. My wife and I were talking about how awesome that would be, but we also don't think that he would go there because
I feel like Vegas is like not a mesh for him personally.
I don't think Vegas.
I
think the
disagree.
Sphere is more for Waters. I could see Waters taking the Sphere on because I think Waters is.
You know what? I'll look if either one of them go.
I'm going to go regardless. They're just both a bunch of cranky little British brats that won't bury the hatchet on anything. So, but I digress on that one though. So yes to new album. I think that if he does do another tour, I actually think it'll be less shows. I don't think it'll be, I mean,
I think it's likely to be as many shows, but over the course of longer time frame.
That I think. I mean,
instead of doing 5 shows in 5 days, he's going to do 5 shows in 10 days.
He did 3 shows in a row.
Yeah, he's not going to do that next time.
In New York. He did the 4th, 5th, and 6th. 3 shows in a row for just about any band is going to be a tall order. 3 shows in a row when you're doing, and 3-hour plus shows.
Yeah, he's playing 2 sets in an encore. I think that's something we kind of glossed over. There's no opening act. It's not like, when we go to the Shed, typically we're seeing, package tours where you get 5 bands and the headliners each play an hour and 10 tops. We're talking about an 80-year-old man playing 3 hours.
So I really do think I see him kind of adopting that kind of like what Bob Weir did with the Den Company thing, is that like they're, again, very similar to Bob. Like Bob is not done playing live. He still loves it. He loves to play live. He loves to get out there. He loves to make original music. Bob Weir does music on his own, like Gilmour does. Like he does his own albums, but he goes out there. And I mean, dude, you're talking, 3.5 hour shows.
Alrighty. Let's.
But anyway, so in a nutshell, yes to new album, yes to residency shows, but I am not going to be heartbroken if it ends up being something like 15 shows at Royal Albert Hall over the course of like
If he's
3
going to do
months.
15 shows on the next tour, and this will be the last thing I say, we'll wrap this shit up. He's going to have to play stadiums.
Oh yeah, no, and he won't do it. He won't do
No,
it.
I don't think he wants to do stadiums.
It's the weather is too terrible. It's too demanding. It's
No,
too
Pink
too
Floyd did
physical.
stadiums for 1 or 2 tours, and they stopped doing them.
That's why he's doing these.
Right.
I
That's
think
why he
that
does
he would much
residencies.
rather do 5 shows than do like 1 show.
Right, I get that.
Can I ask one last question of you?
Hit it.
You have the most random assortment of stuff over your shoulder. So, like, are you drinking the bleach? What is going on with that cleaning
that
solution?
is
A tea set, and the Stanley Cup, and a Stormtrooper helmet, all within proximity. Like, what
I
is
thought that
going
was
on here?
windshield wiper fluid.
Okay, the
for his
big
glasses.
bottle is actually cat odor cleaner that should not be in the shot. I'm sorry. The Stanley Cup is because the Blues won the fucking cup 5 years ago. Plus, the Stormtrooper helmet was a Father's Day gift, and my daughter and I, when she was about 4 or 5, colored it together. So it's very special to me.
That's beautiful.
The tea set was a gift from my wife because I love tea.
Oh.
And unfortunately, it was broken in the mail. Thanks, Goodwill, jackasses. So I'm not sure if I can use it because it's got like super glue on it. But Schlitz glass.
Oh, beautiful.
That didn't get shown in the shot at all because we were talking. Go try it again.
Schlitz glass. But look at this teapot. It is a gorgeous, gorgeous teapot.
That is nice, actually.
I love tea. I do loose tea. And I'm actually
You can use it to store your cocaine.
Hey, Dr. Roxo, get your hand truck fuel somewhere else.
I'm skating.
But
the
yes,
lines.
I can put my cocaine in that teapot. Thank you for joining us this week. I'm Nick. Thank you, Don, the sexy
Thank
beast,
you for having me.
for coming yet
Love you
again. He's going to keep this up, and I'm going to start charging him rent for being here. Keefy, as always, you are a gem. Anybody that puts up with my stupidity weekly for hours is wrong. But if you're wrong, I don't want you to be right, because then you won't be here. If you have listened this far, you are amazing, you are wonderful, and we appreciate you. If you could, please like, subscribe, and punch Mighty Algorithm in the dick by doing those things. Said it before, say it again. This has been the Glacially Musical Podcast. It does not play in Peoria, and I decided not to go to Peoria.
You know, the Hootin Hollers are playing Peoria on their upcoming tour that starts this week.
I'm pretty sure they have a fucking room named after them at the Holiday Inn there.
That's awesome. I am not going to Peoria.
We're still recording.
We are still recording. All right.
May the force be with you.
See you next week.